I'm Dana Russell with Kokopelli Real Estate and Property Management, and this is the Kokopelli Connection, where we discuss the history, happenings, and lifestyle of Western Colorado. Ethan Ball, the Director of Funny Business, also known as the Marketing Director, at the Gear Junction, tells us about the shop's history and how a few college friends started one of the more iconic shops in Grand Junction. The founders are all passionate about the rivers in Western Colorado and rafting. The Gear Junction, along with River's Edge West, is working every year to keep these waterways clean with annual river cleanups. You will not believe what kind of trash is pulled out of these rivers every year. Let's dive into it. Ethan, thank you for joining us today. You are with Gear Junction. Yep, and tell us what you do down there.
Yeah. So I am the Director of Marketing Communications over at the Gear Junction.
What is Gear Junction, I guess, first?
Yeah, great question. So the Gear Junction is a retail and consignment shop that specializes in outdoor gear. We started with a big focus on consignments, but throughout the years saw a lot of growth and the need. So now we've kind of split our store up to be half retail, brand new goods. And then we've got a great consignment section where you can find used gear, used clothing, in a more accessible way. Unfortunately, there's a pretty large barrier to entry in outdoor recreation, just with the cost of everything. We all like to make the joke that we find really expensive hobbies, but it's really true.
Yeah. Even running is expensive.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we really firmly believe that the outdoors is for everybody, that being in nature, just experiencing that really helps with mental health, personal well-being, personal fitness, all sorts of things. And so we want outdoor recreation to be accessible for everyone. And by providing used gear, used clothing, not only are we cutting those prices for people and allowing them to get outside in a more affordable and accessible way, but we're also giving the gear a second life and with a focus kind of on recycling and sustainability instead of things just going into the trash. They get a second life and a chance to help somebody else experience nature the way we get to. Yeah,
you can find some good digs there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of dangerous working there. I'd like to say half my paycheck goes right back to the shop.
Yeah, I'm sure it's tempting seeing everything come in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now tell us what you do at Gear Junction.
Yeah, so official title's the Director of Marketing Communications, but I like to be called the Director of Funny Business. We have a lot of fun in the Gear Junction, and it's a very community-driven organization, business. And so, yeah, we just like to play around with each other, and you'll find it on my business card, Director of Funny Business.
What got Gear Junction started?
Yeah, so the Gear Junction was started by Jacob Thaden and Cole Hansen, who I believe were just good buddies in college. Jacob studied fine art in ceramics, and Cole is a businessman, both with a big love and appreciation for the outdoors. So they decided to create a joint venture together to start this used gear resale shop, again, to make things accessible to people and give things a second life. And it's really just blown up into something really beautiful. They've got a huge focus on community, and not only are they there to sell goods, but we want to drive the outdoor recreation community forward at Gear Junction. And you really see that put into fruition through both of their work in other community events. Not only do we foster a really awesome community in the shop and with the people that are coming in and shopping, but we like to be involved in community events like the Grand Valley River Festival, the Grand Valley River Cleanup. There are a bunch of different ways that we support the outdoor rec community in Grand Junction.
Okay. And the Gear Junction is located on Main Street, and it shares kind of the same building as Trail Life. Is there any correlation between the two, or are they completely separate?
Yeah, so while they are separate businesses, we have found ourselves in a really unique location that works out well to promote two different businesses. So we do share space with Trail Life Brewing, which is another outdoor recreation focused business in Grand Junction. They have really amazing beer, really amazing food. All of their tables are covered in maps, and you'll see kayaks and on the walls, all sorts of stuff. And that idea, the idea for sharing this space came about in talks with Cole and Jacob and Emma and Ryan Dutch, who own Trail Life. We wanted to create a space that was inclusive and brought people in the door, and also, you had a gear shop on the other side. So it does well for both of us. We've got a lot of traffic in the brewery that are just there to drink and eat and have a good time. But it's pretty hard not to notice all the fun toys that you'll see next door. So that drives traffic into our space. It drives traffic into their space. We like to say it's a little bit easier to buy a boat after 3 beers. So it's fun to, push people over there to think about things, have a drink and then come back and buy some fun things.
And so along with rafting, you guys also service mountain bikes, correct? Okay. So touching more on rafting, tell us about Gear Junction's influence there, how they got into rafting, and why that's kind of an intricate part of Gear Junction, because there's a lot of space in the store for rafting.
Absolutely. I would say that our main focuses, as far as sports that we serve, are mountain biking and rafting in the warmer seasons, and then skiing, snowboarding, and cross-country skiing in the winter seasons. You will find gear items for almost any sport out there. We do, a little bit of climbing stuff, lots of camping, but the main focuses are kind of boating, biking, and skiing. We are boaters. Jacob and Cole are both boaters. I'm a boater. And living in Grand Junction, we're just set up for success in that sport, in that hobby. The Colorado River runs right through the heart of town. It meets up with the Gunnison River, which is actually where Grand Junction got its name. The Colorado used to be called the Grand River. And then when it connected with the Gunnison, that was the Grand Junction. So that's kind of where we got our name. We've got some world famous boating right across the border into Utah. You'll find Westwater Canyon that's got some really sporty Class 4 rapids. Right up the road, you'll find Glenwood Canyon, which is also a really popular boating destination. But you can boat almost every section of the river from above Eagle down to Lake Powell. So we've got this really awesome resource just flowing right through our backyard. And we want to give people the opportunity to experience that with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What is your favorite place to go for rafting?
To go boating?
Yeah.
I have a really special place in my heart for Ruby and Horse Thief Canyon.
Okay.
That is right outside of Loma, and it will cross the Utah border. You are surrounded by some really incredible, sandstone, redstone canyons. You see a ton of really awesome wildlife. It's very picturesque and scenic. And I was fortunate enough to guide on that section with a nonprofit that served highly impacted children. So I've just got a lot of really awesome memories. I've done it hundreds of times, but every time I'm down there, I find something new and exciting to see. It is a flatwater section, so it's not the most exciting, and I would definitely say that Westwater, which is right past Ruby and Horse Thief, is one of my favorite fun, quote-unquote, fun sections or rowdy sections to raft. But I love Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take us through, just to get a better understanding of when you mean a flat section, what the stages are when you're on a river.
Yeah, so we rate, I guess, the dangers of the river. We call them classes of rapids. It's on a scale from 1 to 5, unless you're rolling in the Grand Canyon, and they have their own special scale that goes to 10.
Oh.
But every other river, you're going to hear class 1 through 5. Class 1 means it is flat water. So there's not much more than, ripples that you're going over. Generally, flat water is very safe. There are always hazards in any kind of currented waterway. But flat water is pretty darn safe. You don't have a lot of consequence if things go wrong. When you're getting into Class 2, the water's a little bit more turbulent. You're going to find some bigger waves. You might roll up on things that we call wave trains, which, just troughs and peaks. That is going to give you a little bit more of a fun ride. By Class 3, you're experiencing even greater troughs and peaks, more wave trains. And then you might find some consequential moves in Class 3 rapids. By Class 4, if you mess up, there could be dire consequences. And Class 5, don't mess up.
So, if you were in Glenwood Canyon at the peak of the runoff, what class is that?
At the peak of the runoff, when the water's really big, you could consider some things in Glenwood Canyon Class 5.
Okay.
Generally, throughout the season, they're Class 4, and that's just because the water level goes down. The consequence isn't as high. But during peak flows, you definitely need to be careful out there.
Okay.
You need to be careful all the time.
Right.
But
yeah,
have extra caution when we've got those peak flows.
Yeah. If someone that has no knowledge of rafting or boating, as you call it, wants to get into it, where's a good place for them to start?
Yeah. So any kind of local gear shop is going to give you a ton of knowledge on getting into rafting, getting into boating. There are some great groups around the valley that you can hook up with to gain some more experience, grab some more knowledge. If it's something that you are really interested in doing and you want to experience some of those more aggressive waters, I very much recommend that you maybe attend a guide school or take a swiftwater training course. There are paid courses around the country that will teach you the ins and outs of swiftwater management, understand the dangers and the safety hazards, and then teach you how to mitigate risks and handle dangerous situations. So if you are somebody who wants to get into boating on that more, not professional, but
more serious.
Yeah. In a more serious manner, there are education pieces that you can pay for to get you out there. Unfortunately, we don't provide those at the Gear Junction.
Okay.
But there are organizations out there that's what they do.
But it sounds like you're still a wealth of knowledge, so you can be helpful at Gear Junction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Almost anybody that you come talk to in the shop is going to know enough about boating to get you prepared for your first time. And if they don't, they'll refer you to one of us that does.
What would you recommend as a good family float?
Yeah, that Ruby and Horse Thief Canyon that I talked about earlier is an impeccable family float. It's great to bring kids along. I have been out there before with groups that are bringing along like 6-month-old babies. And while I might not recommend that, it just goes to show, how relaxed of a section that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So you touched on earlier that Gear Junction participates, or I might be wrong, they don't just participate, but they actually set up the river cleanup, correct? They coordinate and do all of that. Tell us about the river cleanup. Yeah.
So the Grand Valley River Cleanup has been alive for 22 years, maybe even a little bit longer. It has historically been managed by the Grand Valley Paddling Club, which was a nonprofit started to connect boaters in the valley, give people a community so that they could go out and learn or just enjoy with people that like to do the same things that we do. Unfortunately, that nonprofit has kind of dissolved over the years, and during that dissolution, the Gear Junction stepped up to take ownership of the club in a way, but more specifically, we wanted to keep the Grand Valley River Cleanup alive. Okay. The Colorado River, like I said, it runs through the heart of Grand Junction. It is the lifeblood of life in Colorado. Any waterway, any riverway is. And we want to keep that resource around for the ages. We want everybody that wants to experience it to be able to experience it. We want to keep it healthy for the native ecosystems that thrive in that river. Not everybody knows that we have 4 endangered species of fish that live in the Colorado River. So in order to keep their existence alive, we need to take care of it. And unfortunately, we do see a lot of trash and debris get thrown into the river. Our waterways are not as healthy as we'd like to think that they are. And so it's good to put a community together to go in and do some work and clean it up, and just keep that resource alive and as healthy as we can.
So what does the river cleanup look like? What do you have to do to be a volunteer? What do you need to bring to be a volunteer? What does the day look like? Tell us about that.
It's a really fun event. Basically, it's a collection of boaters going out there, spending a day on the water, picking up trash. We generally focus our efforts on the banks of the river. The infrastructure isn't there that we can provide the resources for everybody to come out. We can't provide boats for everybody. This is a bring your own boat event.
Paddle boards, is that?
Paddle boards are great. Yeah,
okay.
we work as a team, so it'll be a collection of paddle boarders, kayakers, people in big, large rafts, and everybody's got their own little role through the river cleanup. If you've got a big, large boat, oftentimes you're going to be, maybe pulling off here and there, but people can bring you trash to put on your boat because you've got the capacity to take large quantities. Obviously, somebody on a paddleboard doesn't have the capacity to haul 5 tires out of the river. And so they might go into the little nooks and crannies that those big boats can't get into, pick up some trash, and then bring it back to a larger vessel. We have some really great volunteers that bring what we call the trash barges every year. And they'll outfit their boats with big decks so that we can throw big things like tires and shopping carts and bicycles. We see all kinds of things getting dumped in the river. And so it takes a team, and it takes people in those small boats and in those big boats to make it happen.
How many miles of river do you guys cover? Where do you start and where do you typically end for that cleanup?
We're really proud to say that we cover the entire 30-mile stretch of the Grand Junction town float. So we will start in Palisade at Riverbend Park, and then the last section ends at Fruta. Oh no, they go all the way to Loma. We end right at the put-in for Ruby and Horse Thief Canyon.
Oh wow!
So
you do that in a day?
It's a huge undertaking.
Holy cow!
Obviously, 30 miles, well, for those of you who don't know, a really good day on the water is about 18 miles. That is what you can expect to cover on a full day of rafting. So to do 30 miles in one day would be nearly impossible if you're starting at the beginning and taking out at the end. So we split every section, or we split it up into sections. We're lucky to have a lot of infrastructure in Grand Junction for boat ramps and takeouts. So we'll basically use those boat ramps to establish a section. And then Group A will do Section 1, Riverbend Park down to Corn Lake. Section B will do Corn Lake down, so on and so forth. So you don't have to commit to the entire 30-mile stretch. But we can still get that whole stretch cleaned up in one day.
Well, that's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles, yeah.
That's awesome. So what is the weirdest thing or the most memorable or oddest thing that you guys have pulled out of the river?
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there this year, so I'm telling a secondhand story, but it was so wild that I have to tell it. I think it was actually the year before I got involved with the Grand Valley River cleanup. They had found a dilapidated hot tub on the bank of the river. A hot tub. Obviously, covered in dirt and rocks, so we had to, clean it off and push a lot of debris out of it. But then they were able to set it up right and actually float it downriver, being towed behind one of the rafts. So that was a big push to get out of the river.
That had to take some effort to get that to the shore.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a lot of growth and a lot more participation. We've almost doubled participation in the 2 years that I've been involved with it, which is really exciting to see. And for those big items, it makes it possible to get those large items out of the river when you have a bunch of hands on deck.
On average, how many volunteers do you have?
I would say close to 100 on average. We had 150 sign up for this last river cleanup. We're also broadening our reach. So whereas we've done one river cleanup a year in the past, this year is the first year that the Gear Junction's been involved that we are going to be doing 2. So we did one in the spring this year, and then there will be another one on September 13th in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And where can you go to sign up to be a volunteer for that?
So signups are not live quite yet, and I wish I had put that infrastructure into place for this. But when signups are live, which will be, at some point here in July, you can find all the information on the River's Edge West website. You'll also find a link through the Gear Junction website. You can find it on our social medias. We'll have posters around town that you can just scan a QR code. Want to get the word out and make it accessible. So yeah, look around our website, River's Edge. We're really lucky to have partners like River's Edge West, who can host a website for us and keep the sign-up sheet in an easily accessible place. We're also really lucky to have partners like Bigfoot Roll-Off Services. They donate those huge dumpsters every year so that we have a place to put the trash, and then they're responsible for taking that trash away from the river and putting it in the landfill. We're really thankful for organizations like Palisade Tours, Grand Junction Adventures, and Rimrock Adventures. They provide shuttle services for all of the volunteers.
Oh, that's great.
So that it's not such a hassle to, if you're just one person, you can leave your vehicle at the takeout and then get a ride back to the put-in and do it just as a team of one, if that's you. So we have a lot of great partnerships that we're really thankful for, and we really couldn't do it without all the community support.
What are a few items that you constantly pull out of the river?
Yeah, it is no secret that there are a lot of car tires that end up in the Colorado River. We always end up pulling out a few car tires. We're seeing more shopping carts in the river. We're seeing a big uptick in the houseless population in Grand Junction, and I don't blame them. I would want to live by the river too. But we do see, an increase in trash and shopping carts and stuff like that on the banks due to that population rise. What are other things? There's always water bottles and soda cans and stuff like that. There's dilapidated or ruined boats sometimes, vessels. You'll see paddles in the water. You'll see life jackets, which is always kind of a scary thing to see in there. But what happens every year is we get a lot of water when the snow melts. We get a high water season, a peak runoff season, and anything that might have just been on the banks upstream is going to get flushed into the river and then pushed downstream. So we'll see things that might have gotten dropped in the river in Glenwood or even up in Kremling make their way down here to Grand Junction. And if we don't get it, it'll float all the way to Lake Powell. Yeah. So,
yeah. Is there a section of river that's typically filled with the most trash compared to others?
There are, yeah. The sections between Corn Lake and the Blue Heron boat ramp generally seem to have the most trash. Those are some of the most easily accessed, that section has the most easy access. So it makes sense. There's a lot of people who can access the river and get down there, and maybe not everybody makes it to the dumpster or the trash can. So we do see that for sure. Palisade stays generally pretty clean, but we actually saw a lot of trash on every section this last year. So just as populations rise, more and more people want to do this stuff, which is awesome. We want people out there. But with that comes some more things to consider, some more work to be done to keep it safe and healthy.
Do you guys track each year how much trash you pull out, whether it's in weight or quantity or whatever?
We do, and I did not bring that information. I don't have it, but tons, like literal tons, are being pulled out of the river almost every time we do a river cleanup.
Man, that's a lot of trash.
Yeah.
We did a couple of times. We did a desert cleanup, and some of the stuff out there, I don't know how it makes it out there. It's amazing what ends up in some of these places.
Yeah, I've done other river cleanups with other organizations in the past, and on that Ruby and Horse Thief stretch that I mentioned earlier, that is a remote stretch. It is 22 miles without access. There's no boat ramps, there's no roads. And in the middle of that canyon, I've seen a full-on sectional couch before.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and so that is a testament to a few things. One of the biggest being, like, with the high water season, it's incredible what can get pushed downstream. Yeah.
Interesting. So how does the river cleanup differ from the Waterfest or River? Is it Riverfest?
Yeah, Grand Valley River Festival. So the river cleanup is a Good Samaritan event, where we're completely volunteer. Nobody's getting paid for this. We're just out there to clean up the river. It is a one-day event. Now there's 2 events a year, so we're doing 2 of these a year. The Grand Valley River Fest is more of a fun, family-friendly event that is themed around boating. So our mission is to... Actually, I don't remember it verbatim, so cut that. But the Grand Valley River Fest is a boating and river focused festival that is held at the Las Colonias Park, right at the Butterfly Pavilion. We have live music, we have some games and activities, we have vendors, we have food, and this is a festival that we just want people to come down and have a good time while we promote boater education and safety, give other people in the industry a chance to show off their wares and their goods. Sometimes we have some local vendors that are doing some really cool stuff. And then we'll see big brands that are nationally known come down and support or vend at the festival. The whole idea of the festival is to support a few nonprofits in the valley that are directly responsible for boater safety and education and conservation. Those nonprofits are River's Edge West, which I mentioned earlier. They focus on conservation and education within the riparian corridors in Colorado. The other nonprofit is the Save a Life Jacket program. And the Save a Life Jacket program provides free flotation devices along the Colorado River here in Grand Junction. Again, with that mentality to make safety and outdoor experiences accessible for everybody.
Interesting. What was it again?
Save a Life Jacket program.
Okay. Is that a take and return, or is it a take and replace type?
It is a take and return. So we've got kiosks stationed all along the Colorado River here in town. The idea is if you don't have a life jacket and you need one, you take one from the kiosk and you'll return it to the kiosk that you'll find downstream. And then it takes volunteers through the Save Life Jacket program to restock those, bring them back upstream so that people can continue to use them.
And when is the Riverfest?
So the Riverfest always happens in May. This year, Riverfest always happens in May. This year it was May 17th. And the Gear Junction is affiliated with that. Not only are we part of the board that plans it, but we're the major sponsor for the Grand Valley River Fest. Like I talked about earlier, we really want to help build the community for rafting and boating, as well as biking and, all the things. But the River Festival really pushes that community forward, gives people the opportunity to see the things that are possible on the river, and then it just creates a fun event to kind of do a little bit of show and tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this may kind of feel like a self-answering question, but what was the draw for adding a second river cleanup? I mean, I feel like it's easy to say there's more trash, but was there something else that they wanted to add that second river cleanup, or is there truly just that much more?
Unfortunately, it is. We just saw the need for it. Not only have we seen that the boating community is really growing here, there have been cleanups in the past that were just a handful of people going out there, and we've really grown that into over 100 people going out there. So we see the participation. We see people willing to participate and help clean up the river, and we also see the need for it. There's a lot of trash that gets put into the river, and we want to keep these waterways not only pretty for our own personal enjoyment, but healthy, so that the ecosystems there can thrive. And you hear stories about things getting ruined for other people, like, why do you have to have the no baby in a bucket symbols? Because at some point a baby fell in a bucket. We don't want to see any kind of future where the river access is denied to the community because of an influx in trash or anything. Like, we want to keep this resource alive and ready. And with the amount of trash that we're seeing in it, we really just thought that we needed to do more than one a year.
Where did my question go? It was right there. I can't remember what I was going to ask you.
It happens.
Is there a section in town that you enjoy cleaning up the most because it's your favorite section, it's the most rewarding to clean up? What section do you enjoy?
I guess I generally clean up the Los Colonias to Blue Heron section simply because the need is very strong there. That is the section that we have the most people volunteer on. We give you the choice when you sign up. You can choose what section you'd like to do, but there's also the choice at the bottom that says, put me where you need me. And almost all of the people that choose that end up getting put on the Las Colonias section because the need is so great there. Las Colonias is one of my favorite sections because of its ease of accessibility. Especially where I live, I can make the shuttle happen in, 20, 30 minutes. It's just very easy for me to get off work and go down for a sunset float or something like that. I think some of the most scenic sections we find upstream from like Palisade to Corn Lake, or even Corn Lake to Blue Heron. The greenery is a little bit more lush. You feel a little bit more disconnected from the town. So I think that those are my favorite sections to run. But I'd really like to focus my cleanup efforts on that Las Colonias section because it gets dirty.
If someone is on the river or they can't make the river cleanup, but they really want to participate somehow, what is your recommendation just to an individual looking to help?
Yeah. So I've mentioned before that to be on the water, it is a bring your own boat event, but we have opportunities for people that don't have their own boats. While the infrastructure is not elaborate, we do allow for people to come and work a ground crew where we're going to give you the same resources: trash bags, buckets, sharp containers, gloves. But instead of being on the water, you will just be walking along the banks, cleaning up trash where you see it. You can still throw it in the dumpsters and use all the resources that we've got. You're just doing it from land instead of doing it from the water.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anything that you have found on the river that is like dangerous or that people should stay away from?
Yeah, you don't want to get tetanus. You don't want, there's some definite risks of cleaning up the river like this. We do see drug use in Grand Junction, and there are spots, some more heavy than others, that you're going to find a lot of needles. We're really thankful to Community Hospital for partnering with us and providing sharps and hazardous containers for those situations. So we are not just throwing a bunch of needles into a trash bag. We actually have a designated spot for those to go. And a good way to dispose of them properly. So big shout out and thank you to Community Hospital for providing those every year. You don't want to, cut yourself on a piece of rusty metal. So there are hazards to be aware of for sure. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't, we're not going to let that stop us from making this a little bit better.
Because there are some of those hazards, I know with other cleanups, there are definitely some age restrictions. Mm-hmm. Do you have to be a certain age to participate in the river cleanup?
You do not have to be a certain age. We want everybody, if the whole family wants to come out, we want them to have that opportunity. We do safety briefings at the beginning of each section, and we'll go over, if you have kids with you, maybe stay away from the needles or have a good talk with them so they understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. And generally there is one person in charge of the sharps container. So, we don't want kids going out and, playing in the needles. So we will preface that and let the families know, stick to the cobblestones where you're going to find water bottles and stuff like that, and leave some of those abandoned encampments to whoever's got the sharps container, or whoever has poke-proof gloves, stuff like that.
Well, it's good that you guys allow everyone. It's nice to involve kids and stuff like that, so that, especially when it's their home, they really have an impact on that.
Absolutely. And we've even seen more engagement throughout the years. This last cleanup, we had a Boy Scout troop come out. I've been contacted by some of the schools that want to get more and more kids exposed to the river so that they understand the opportunities that are in front of them, and then also give them a little bit of responsibility in these resources that we have.
If there is someone listening that really wants to be a sponsor, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, we would love to have more sponsorship. You can contact me by reaching out to the Gear Junction. I'm almost always the person answering the phones. You can also contact Rivers Edge West, and just, send a check to them that says Grand Valley River Cleanup on it. If you want to do digital payments, they've also got a digital payment portal. We're really lucky, again, to partner with Rivers Edge West, and they are the fiscal agent for the Grand Valley River Cleanup. So they handle all of our money for us.
Gotcha.
So all the payments will be going through them. But if you need more information, please reach out to me. If you find the website, you'll see a button for sign up, and then you'll also see a button for sponsorship, which should have all that information listed on there. And we do create fun t-shirts every year that we'll give out to all the volunteers. Those are going to be backed with all the sponsor logos on the back, so it's a good marketing incentive for it. We do an appreciation barbecue at the end of the river cleanup where we do big shout outs to all of our sponsors. And then we give away fun prizes to volunteers that helped us out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And before we end, tell us that date again for the river cleanup.
Yeah, so the next Grand Valley River Cleanup will be in the fall, 2025, September 13th.
I guess one other question I have. When we have a year like this where the water is really low, I'm assuming you see more debris, correct?
Yes and no. So
interesting.
A high water year has the potential to push more trash and debris downstream. Mm-hmm. So we might, and the high water years are the years that we see those big items, the couches, the hot tubs, the tires. Low water years, you might find more concentration of trash, right along the banks, but you might not find those bigger items.
Okay.
And really what we're seeing is that it's just the increase in population and the increase in use that's driving that trash. It's not as much the high water pushing things into the river. We're seeing the big need in just the increase in use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because my thought was that with a low water year, you're exposing more, but that's very interesting that it doesn't really, there's not that correlation with it.
Yeah. some things sink, but a lot of things get pushed onto the banks or are floating. You know, if you have a soda can, that's going to float for a while until it fills up with like water or sediment. If you've got a plastic bottle with the lid on it, that's going to keep floating. We see like styrofoam out there a lot. Even like wood debris, even though wood is a national resource, we're going to pull it out of the water. So I have like nails or something in it. So there's a lot of things that are floating and don't sink during the low water years, especially towards the end of the season when there's minimal flow and minimal water in there. You can get to the bottom of the river and like pull those items out that have been sinking. But mostly the trash is just coming from the increase in use.
Does a low water year help or hinder your cleanup?
I would say that it could hinder us more because you can't take those big boats downstream on the low water years. You do have the potential of like getting your boat stuck. So it might make it harder to access some things than instead of just like paddling right up to a trash site. You might have to get out your boat and push it up onto the bank or something like that. But we're making it happen regardless of the water. Until there's just a trickle in there, we're going to put boats on and clean it up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this time for real. Let's do one more time before we end. Say the date for the river cleanup again so that people have that in their brain one last time.
Great. Yeah, the Grand Valley River cleanup is going to be held in the fall of 2025, September 13th.
Perfect. And go to Gear Junction for more information. And then when you have that ready, we will have that link posted on the bottom here. So
perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was very interesting today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.